Our first segment of the day is regarding updates on the school shooting that took place in Nashville on Monday. Now, before we get into updates with video clips, articles, and the body cam footage of the shooting itself, let's do a little bit of a recap on everything we know so far. So a 28-year-old white woman who identified as a man, meaning they were transgender, went into a school and murdered 6 people, including 3 children. The FBI, the ATF, and local authorities did a search on the home of the female shooter and found a manifesto, which they've concocted a theory about what they think the motive was behind this horrific and heinous act. Now, we don't know the nuances and the details of all that. We're still waiting for that to come out, but the police chief did say this was a targeted attack. Furthermore, during the search, they did find maps and detailed schematics of the school that showed points of entry, and this person was a prior student of this campus, meaning they knew their way around already. Furthermore, there was reports out there that there was other points or locations of which this shooter wanted to go after, but they didn't, or she didn't, because of the security of those locations. So she decided to shoot up a school. Well, here's the police chief giving us more information and more updates on this whole thing. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Police chief there holding yet another briefing for us. A number of points made, things that we didn't know about the shooter, and also conversations now the police chief had with the shooter's parents.
Yes, that's right, Kira. We found out about the number of weapons that the shooter had in her possession leading up to this shooting. We also learned about what the parents did and did not know. And they also shared some information about what was contained in those writings about potential other locations that the shooter was going to target. So take a listen to Nashville Police Chief John Drake.
We've interviewed the parents of Audrey Hale, and we've determined that Audrey bought 7 firearms from 5 different local gun stores here legally. They were legally purchased. 3 of those weapons were used yesterday during this horrific tragedy that happened. We know that they felt that she had 1 weapon and that she sold it. She was under care, doctor's care, for an emotional disorder. Law enforcement knew nothing about the treatment she was receiving, but her parents felt that she should not own weapons. They were under the impression that when she sold the 1 weapon that she did not own anymore. As it turned out, she had been hiding several weapons within the house.
And Kira, we do want to point out that we still do not know exactly what was the significance of the day of the shooting, and we do not know why he targeted this school other than that he wanted to.
Did you all hear that correctly? So at the beginning of the segment, this reporter referred to the shooter as a shooter and then referred to the shooter as a her, and now is referring to the shooter as a he. And you're going to see this again from the New York Times. We'll actually show you the tweet itself, is that there was some confusion, is the word they're using, in these media outlets of what to refer this transgender person as. And so they're flip-flopping here, and I imagine there's a producer in her ear telling her to correct it, which is mind-blowing that they're willing to cater to this person, this evil scumbag here that decided to shoot up a school and murder 6 people, including 3 children once again. So it's crazy how these media outlets are sitting there catering to this person that did such a horrendous and evil act. It is just mind-blowing, but let them continue here.
Target the school. And a big emphasis from this press conference is that the shooter did not plan or did not specifically target the 6 victims that were there specifically. There was no specific classroom or specific person the shooter was going after. It just seemed that the shooter was open firing on the school. Kira.
So there's one update from the police chief himself. We also have updates here from a former high school classmate of the shooter, and said that the shooter did not fit the typical school shooter archetype. So the former classmate, who spoke anonymously due to the nature of the story, graduated with the suspect from the Nashville School of the Arts in 2014, so almost a decade ago, where they took visual art classes together and ran track at Martin Luther King Jr. School in Nashville. Quote, "I haven't seen the shooter since graduation as I moved, and we didn't keep in touch," the source said. "But my memories from high school are all pleasant." According to the source, they knew the suspected shooter before she began identifying as a male. Quote, "I mainly knew her as she before the transition. When she transitioned, no one was surprised, noting the school had several LGBTQ and other trans students. The source described the shooter as a well-liked, sweet, and funny student who engaged in after-school activities and projects, adding staff and students at the school did not condemn or tease this person. Quote, not all what one would expect as the school shooter archetype, the source said. Everyone in our class is losing it online right now. Well, it's not just that person, but there's also a private Facebook group for the Nashville School of the Arts alumni, where one member wrote that the person they knew in high school was so opposite from who they were this morning. Quote, it's tough to grasp, the shooter wrote. I know this is a shock for the NSA fam. My heart breaks for those sweet families who lost their loved ones this morning. Now, it wasn't just those people that knew this person in high school, but also the mother of the school shooter came out on social media over the years and was basically condemning shootings just in general. So on February 21st, 2018, the mom posted a petition that stated, make large capacity gun magazines illegal. Roughly 2 weeks later, she posted a petition that urged keep guns out of schools, adding her own comment, so important. So let's just pause here for a moment, because we know from the police chief that the school shooter purchased these firearms legally, which other times you obviously have heard where people got them illegally. But you going after high capacity magazines and making them illegal is not going to change the fact that somebody's going to find magazines that aren't high capacity. They're just going to obtain them illegally in the first place. Furthermore, even if you say, let's make a magazine 5 rounds, it doesn't take a long time to switch out a magazine. So again, it's just one of those things where you hear people talk about guns that know nothing about guns, trying to push legislation of which they don't know anything about guns to push that very legislation. So you swapping out a mag takes seconds. It's not going to stop anybody from killing basically or conducting some sort of shooting just in general. Again, that's not to mention the fact that you could just go out and find high capacity magazines as it is. So people are going to commit heinous crimes of which they want to commit. The killer, a female who claimed to be a man, again was armed with 3 guns. There was talks again that the shooter had up to 7 guns. The family believed that she only had 1 and that she sold it and she had mental instability and all these other things. Furthermore, quote, we have a neighborhood resident saying, if I had to imagine, the shooter's parents are probably just as shocked as everybody in the neighborhood is. It just doesn't seem real. There's nothing that would have led me to believe that she was capable of such a thing, or that she or anybody in that family would have access to, much less ever used, a gun. They just don't seem like that type of family that is around guns. They're not talking about going to a gun range, or they're not going hunting. So you're seeing a different picture here from what the residents of the neighborhood that know this person is talking about, or at least describing. Furthermore, the high school students that were friends with her and went to school with her are saying something different. So maybe something happened here. But regardless, the other thing that's just mind-blowing about this whole thing was, as you heard in the first segment, the reporter referring to the she as a he. And so you have the New York Times here. I mean, this is going to make your head spin, folks. The New York Times here said there was confusion later on Monday about the gender identity of the assailant in the Nashville shooting. Officials had used she and her to refer to the suspect, who, according to social media posts and LinkedIn profile, appeared to identify as a man in recent months. So this is what they're doing here. And you got this great quote. Incredible. The New York Times apologizes for misgendering the Nashville mass shooter who murdered 3 kids and 3 adults because it disrespects the murderer's memory and identity. Truly a cult, woke mind virus in full swing. I mean, it is so mind-blowing. And it wasn't just the New York Times. There was actually other outlets that were pulling the same maneuver here, but it's just so disgusting. But what you're going to see from this is Democrats are going to capitalize on this, capitalize on emotions, because you can't just wait for all the information to come out. They sit there and try to push legislation that will somehow sit there and stop this from happening. Folks, can we just be honest with each other? There's no legislation that's going to stop something like this from happening. Somebody that's going to commit a crime, that wants to commit a crime, is going to go commit the crime, and they're going to find a way to do that. Whether that's them getting the guns illegally or not using guns at all. They might use knives, which we've seen all across the globe, like the UK where Shib lives. We talked about this in yesterday's episode. They're going to commit the crime of which they want to do. You sitting there and chiseling away at the rights of Second Amendment holders or law-abiding citizens such as myself isn't going to stop this from happening. Furthermore, if you want to stop sending billions of dollars to other countries and taking that billions of dollars and actually putting in the school system to hire armed guards or strap in teachers with weapons, that would be nice as well. We did pull up a poll. We put a poll up on our community tab. If you haven't gone over, go check that out, where the vast majority, high 90 percentile of people are okay with teachers for the most part having firearms. I'm a teacher myself. I would love to have a firearm. I do have a firearm at home, but I would love to carry one to protect myself and your kids in the classroom. I don't mind going through trainings. I don't mind taking a bunch of psych evals, whatever's necessary for me to protect myself so I can go home and see my family, as well as your children to go home and see you at the end of the day so you can raise them. I'm all for it. I got no problem strapping. There's people like, well, I think it's kind of weird that, you know, going to school and seeing a teacher strapped. Folks, there's so many people that conceal and carry that you have no idea that they even have a gun on them in the first place. So you can do the same thing as a teacher, where you can be strapped and have no idea that that teacher has a firearm. You don't need a rifle. Hell, give me a 22. I'll do it with a 22 or a 9mm or a 45. Totally okay with that. I don't need a rifle. But, you know, that was just something that was proposed. I know there's a lot of teachers out there that might seem crazy to where maybe you wouldn't want to give them a firearm. Totally understand that. That's why I think psych evals are important for somebody that would be with your children and doing all these things and having a certain amount of firing hours and going to the range and doing instruction and all that stuff. I'm fully on board with it, but it was a cool poll to see kind of what people want. Honestly, I didn't think it would be that high in terms of what people were voting for of teachers being carrying firearms in the classroom. Well, moving on here with this whole segment of updates, they actually gave us the body cam footage of these heroes going in and neutralizing the target. And look, it's 6 minutes. I mean, this is crazy response time. This is exactly how things are supposed to be done. This is how Uvalde should have been done. But let's go see the heroes working here.
Love you, I'm making entry on the front side. I got a civilian that's putting me in here.
The kids are all locked down, but we have 2 kids that we don't know where they are.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Into my window, son. They're upstairs.
Hey. Give me 3. Let's get 3.
You guys listen all the way down this hall. Listen, it's Fellowship Hall. The end of this hall is Fellowship Hall. They just said they heard gunshots down there, and then upstairs are a bunch of kids.
Let's go. I need 3.
One more!
Let's go. Metro Police!
Open door! On me! We don't know where he is! Metro Police! Open door! Bathroom, small bathroom. Clear.
Next. Let's go. Door. With me.
Hold the door!
Next.
Like this.
Open it. I got it.
Bathroom.
Let's go.
Come out. Door right now. Let's go!
Just move right. Cover left. Take this with me. Take this. No, that's locked. Take this door. Take this door. Take it. I think it's upstairs. It sounds like it's upstairs.
Go! Push the LPV up. Reloading. Clear. Move. Watch out.
These men are heroes, folks. I mean, that's how it is done. You go in, you neutralize the target, 6 minutes. 6 minutes, 14 minutes from when the first phone call was made. That needs to be an instructional video there. Horrific crime that's taken place. We'll get more information as time goes and the police are able to do an investigation. But like I said, this is not going to stop the Democrats from trying to remove or chisel away our Second Amendment rights. They're going to do everything they can to hone in on the emotions of the American people, to push some sort of legislation that's not going to stop something like this from happening. There's over 300 million weapons in the United States. People are going to commit terrible crimes. If you want to at least hinder this from happening, you can get armed guards on campus. Again, stop sending billions of dollars to Ukraine or other countries. I mean, you could talk hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that could be put into these schools where you can put, I don't know, bulletproof glass doors up front. You can have armed guards in every school and institution. If you would have just had an armed guard here because this private school didn't have one, at least you can have this person cornered for a little bit, or at least slow them down until police arrive. I mean, they had to shoot through the front door just to get through in the first place. So you could have at least stopped them somewhat, potentially right then and there, slow them down. Every second counts here. But again, they're just going to sit there and go after law-abiding citizens, which is sad, which is terrible. But we figure that's going to happen because that's what Democrats want to do time and time again. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.